Okay, so in this part of the lesson, I'm going to take what I showed you about analyzing data, inputting data, creating a histogram or bar graphs, pie charts, and I'm going to start with a spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet I have here is just data that's been inputted in. Okay, so in this instance, we have data here that shows a member ID and what their average monthly orders was. This was a food delivery service. Consider it like a HelloFresh or Good Food. And the second piece here shows their annual sales, and it's based on different meal plans. 2 meals a week, 3 a week, 5 a week, etc. This is just pure data that I've put in. Okay, so it was actually from another course that I teach. So picture coming into Microsoft Excel and just inputting these numbers. Okay, so putting 20, hitting enter, 16, enter, 15, whatever it is. Okay, that's all this data is. So this is what we would call our raw data. So it's data that has not been organized into any form. And I'm going to show you how to convert from this, okay, raw data, into a usable format. Okay, so this is the same spreadsheet, but after the data has been organized, it's been assembled into, here is a histogram. Going down, I'm showing you how to do a pie chart. And then in our second chart here, this is what's known as a pivot table that can be edited depending on what you want to see. And then down here, a column or what we've seen as a bar graph. Okay, so I'm going to show you in a rather short period of time how using Microsoft Excel in this example can quickly allow you to create what is a much nicer looking and much easier spreadsheet to view when you compare this to what we start with, okay, which is our base spreadsheet here. So I've posted this basic spreadsheet on LMS. It's under content for Unit 4. And in here, my hope is that you'll download this spreadsheet and you can follow along, okay? Pausing, rewinding, whatever you need to do to follow the same steps. If you're wondering how, if you don't have Microsoft Excel currently installed on your computer, or you have an older version, you actually have a copy available to you of Microsoft Office, all of these products, so Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, etc., being a Sioux College student. So I've also posted a link on LMS on how you might download these softwares using our Sioux College resources. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So, like I said, this is just data. Okay, data that's been typed in. If you might have typed it in, made a title, and a lot of people think this, I made a table, right? Because I typed this data in these cells. Okay, this goes all the way down. If I scroll down, there's over 200 entries. There's quite a bit of data here. Okay, so it goes down to cell 228 or row 228. But this isn't actually a table in Excel as you would normally define it. Okay, this is actually just raw data. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you how to make this into what's actually a table in Microsoft Excel that can be manipulated and worked on. So everything you want to be in a specific table, you highlight. So when you highlight in Excel, you click and hold, okay, and it keeps making kind of a rectangle. Now, if you want to highlight everything within a certain amount of columns in this instance, if I highlight both columns, I press and hold Control and Shift at the same time, and I press the down button, Microsoft Excel will highlight all the way down until it finds a blank cell. So as you can see, all of these were filled up until we got to row 229. So it highlighted everything in this entry. If I want to turn this into an actual Excel table to be manipulated, I go to the Insert tab here, and you can see there's options here for tables. Okay, so actual tables in Excel. We're going to start by selecting this table button, and then we're going to talk later on about how to do a pivot table with a separate piece of data. So if you click table here, it asks where's the data for your table. So if you had not highlighted the data already, then it would just be blank here. In this case, it shows our cells starting at A1, which is our first cell in the top left corner, going all the way with a colon to our bottom right cell. So if I scroll all the way down, you will see that it goes to cell B28. Okay, so column B, row 28. And you can see that it has these dollar signs beside or both behind and in front of each of the column letters. That means that this is locking it in place. This will always be your table. Below that, the second item that I have selected off here is that my table has headers. What that means is each of these having a header, meaning it actually has titles for each of the columns. Okay, so if you don't have titles, we'll see where it says member ID and average monthly orders. If it was just raw data, then you would have this checked off like that. But in this case, since the first row are titles, I click that off. So I press OK. Now by default, you'll see a couple things that have happened. It's changed, and now it's a little more color coordinated. And also, you'll see these kind of drop-down menus come up here. So by default, these are what are called filter buttons. So I can click this, and it shows all of the possible results in member ID. Okay, so these are all different member IDs. I can actually click this and unselect them all, and they will actually, none of them will show up here. So you can't press OK because you have to have something showing. But let's say I wanted to just see this member ID. I can click it, press OK. And what it does is that data doesn't go away. It actually hides it. So you can see we have row 1, and from row 1 to row 123 immediately after that, meaning the rest of this is hidden. That's what the blue color in the row actually means. Okay, so you can use these to filter the data you want. So if I click back here, I'm going to actually click the select all button to get them all to show up. Press OK. So it's more relevant. You know, this is member IDs. They're all going to be different for each member, right? Just like everybody has employee IDs or something like that. But the other column with average monthly orders, you could click it and you could actually select only the number of monthly orders you wanted, whether it's 20 or 25. You want to see how many maybe that has 20 or more orders, or maybe only people that have less than 10. Okay, so you can do that by clicking these as well. So that's the first feature. The second feature is, if you look up here, we're in a new piece here. It's under Table Tools. This allows you to change multiple things. It allows you to add a header row, which we already added because remember, we checked off that our table had headers. So these are our headers. You can add a first and last column, which will show up kind of bolded as the first column. You can add a total row if you'd like. So if I scroll further down on this, I can go all the way to the end. If I add a total row, it actually comes up with a total, okay? And it totals up usually the last item here in the column. But you can click the drop down and actually do some standard formulas in here automatically, okay? Again, because this is automating this process, okay? So I'm actually creating a table in Microsoft Excel. The second item, or the third item you'll notice here, is you see in this bottom corner here, there's a little arrow. That is the extent of your table. So if you go up to it, you can click and hold. You can make this table bigger or smaller if you choose to. Okay, so I can make it longer this way with more data. I can go this way and add another column. Okay, so that allows you to automatically do that. If you want to add another entry, don't think that, oh, I have to extend this. If I start typing in a new, let's say a new member ID, let's type in NC, just 4, 5, 6, 7, it will automatically add that to your table, okay? And the benefits of that is that not only did it add it to your table, which is more features, I'm only getting into the basics in this, but it also updates all of your formatting. And if you had a total row, it would also update the total row, okay? So just something to keep in mind. So this basically formatted it to do all those different things. Now I'm going to click this. I'm going to go back. See, when you're clicked on a table, you have another window come up. If I'm not clicked on the table, that table tools piece goes away. So if I click it, I click on design. If I go down here, I'm picking this color just because it's the same one that I had in the second spreadsheet you saw. So now it's formatted. Okay, I've got all of my data here in an actual kind of usable format. And what I'm going to do with this is my first step now is I'm actually going to create a histogram. So remember, we had to put them together into bins, okay, of certain width. Well, Microsoft Excel will do that automatically for you. You'll see that it's both good and bad, and I'll explain what I mean about that in a second. But it'll automatically create your bin widths and sort them, okay, based on those bin sizes. So if you go up here, you can click on Insert, and you'll see here that under Charts there's multiple options. This bar option here is actually for a histogram. So I can click to insert a histogram, okay, and it knows, because I created this as an actual Excel table, it knows that this was the data we're using, okay? So you can see in this histogram, in the x-axis here, these are the bin widths that it's created. So it's created a bin width between 5 and 8.6, which gives you a width of 3.6. So maybe not, the exact dimension you wanted. You saw when we looked at histograms, the first part of this lesson, it was usually equal widths, of whole numbers. But that's something that's easily changeable, okay? So if you click on this, you can actually, now, remember we had a table tools, now we have chart tools come up. So we can click Format here, and on the Format tab, you can actually click Format Selection on the left here. And that comes up with some options, one of which is actually the bin width. So it's currently set to automatic, meaning you can see our bin width here was 3.6. But you can click that and adjust it to be something else that you wanted. So let's say I want the bin width to be an even number. I will pick 5 and press Enter. The chart automatically updates here to show you how the frequencies change as they fall within those different bin widths. Okay, so you don't have to go about creating those by yourself. All right. The second item that you can notice here is I have bin widths showing here at the bottom, but for a lot of people, they don't know what this chart means. So you can easily add different titles to them. So I can change this chart title to say Average Monthly Orders. I can also go back up to this Chart Tools, click Design, and add chart elements. So what I would like to add here is I click this, I'd like to add axis titles. So I know what the bin widths are on the bottom, and I know what the y-axis stands for. So I'm going to click Primary Horizontal. You'll see an axis title comes up. I'm going to go back up here, go to Axis Titles, and do Primary Vertical. So if you click on them, you can double click and change the text. I will change this to say Average Monthly Orders. And I will change the y-axis to say Frequency. Remember, because it's the frequency, or how many times, or how many members have had orders within that amount of bin widths, okay? So in other words, between 5 and 10 orders, 10 and 15, 15 and 20, 20 and 25, and 25 and 30, okay? So pretty simple, right? Now we've got a chart. It's pretty well done. We can also change it. In this case, I'm going to change it to be the same kind of color palette that I had here. Just have everything look kind of the same, right? You can also click and grab it, move it around, click these to make them larger or smaller. Totally up to you. So, okay, so that, with a couple clicks of the button, we created a table here, and we use this data to automatically create a histogram, okay? Our second table here shows annual income from 2019 to 2024. Okay, this would be projections. But again, it's just data, right? It's just sitting here as data. So I'm going to edit it. I'm going to do a couple things. My first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of them once again. Go to Insert and select Table. Okay, so you can see my table does have headers because again, it has the column labels here. And it's automatically put the data from my table as what I highlighted. So I press OK. Again, it creates a table. Okay, goes to a default color of blue, so I can go down and select the same green. So you can see in those couple clicks, I have them all looking exactly the same. The other item I want to note here is you can see all these are numbers, but they're actually financial values. So I'm going to click the Home button, and there's a button here that says Number. So I'm going to highlight each of these, and you see they're just listed as general. So there's options here to change how these numbers look. So I'm going to click that I want it in accounting format. Okay, so you can see it changed them all to have a $sign in 2 decimal places. And there's buttons here to increase the number of decimals or decrease. So by default, it's going to show 2 decimal places, so showing dollars and cents. I'm going to decrease that, so press this once and twice, so that I don't have any decimal places, just whole numbers. I'm going to highlight the total column and do the same thing. So select the accounting number format and go to the decrease decimal and press it twice. Okay, so just like that, we've created yet another table. Okay, using this table data now, I'm going to show you how to create the second graph that we looked at, which was a pie chart. So the pie chart's going to break down. I'm going to pick the year 2019. It's going to break down, okay, in the pie chart format, what percentage were 2-day, 3-day, 5-day, 7-day, or on demand for 2019. So I'm going to highlight both the names I want and the values. I'm going to click Insert, and I'm going to go here to the one that looks just like a pie chart. If you push the drop-down menu, I'm going to do just a plain 2D pie chart. And you can see it automatically comes up as a pie chart, broken down. And you see that it says 2-day, 3-day, etc. as a legend down here with the colors. So one thing I want to add to this, first I'm going to move it so that it's not over top of our histogram. Then I'm going to just make it a little bit larger so it matches the size. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my chart title and do income breakdown in 2019. You can name it whatever you like. I'm just choosing to name it that way. Second thing is, remember I added chart elements to this histogram. I added the horizontal and vertical axes. So I'm going to click on our actual pie, and you can see it highlighted each pie. And I'm going to go up here. Again, we have the chart tools piece come up when we're in our pie chart. I'm going to click add chart element. I'm going to add data labels. I want to actually know what these values are, right? It's nice to see a breakdown like that, but you can actually create a data label in different spots. So right now it's set to none. You could have it in the center of each pie, inside. I like to have them outside, okay? Or one they call best fit, which I like outside the best. You don't have to worry about seeing it around colors. So I'm going to click that. So now you see a couple items here, okay? You see the breakdown, right, visually as a pie chart, but you also see the values of each, okay? So you can actually put a quantitative number to each one. The last item I'm going to do before we move to the next piece is I'm going to change the colors yet again, okay, to something similar in color to what we have. Keep in mind that, I have to use different colors here in order to differentiate them. So with a couple clicks of in Excel, we've now created a pie chart, okay? The next item I want to do is I want to show you how to make an easy table to manipulate this data really fast. Okay, that's called a pivot table. So when you formatted this as a table, remember we went to insert and we clicked table. You can see it's grayed out here, and that's because this is already a table. But you can create what's called a pivot table. Okay, and this allows you to arrange and summarize this data in a lot easier formats. Okay, so you can click on pivot table. See, because again, this has to be formatted as an actual table using this table button, and then you can use the pivot table piece. So if I click this, what you'll notice is it's automatically selected the data in my table here. Okay, because it knows that that is a table. Again, Excel understands that. And so it's selecting my table. I didn't change the name of it, but you can. It's called Table 2. And I want to put this in a new worksheet. So I'm going to press OK. So now it shows and it says Pivot Table 1. Doesn't look like much, but there's a lot that you can do with this. Okay, so when you're clicked on any space where this pivot table rectangle shows up, you should see on the right here these fields that come up. All right, this allows you to manipulate this data to only show specific pieces. So if we go back to our first sheet, it shows everything, 2019 to 2024. Okay, shows a couple other things. In here, we can choose what we'd like to show. Okay, so what I mean by that is I can choose to show different meal plans. And you can see when I click it, it automatically comes up down here. And I can choose, maybe I only want to show 2022, 23, and 24. So I can click them in the order I want. And they now come up here. Okay, so just that data comes up here. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, and it allows you to kind of summarize it. Okay, so for each one of these, you're showing the sums. Okay, and you're also showing each of the pieces of data. Again, it automatically will adjust this. If I unselect one, it just goes away. If I select it again, it comes back. Okay. You can do some things with these, which I'm going to do right now. So you can see that they've shown up here under values. Okay, so they're actually coming up as values, allowing us to do sums. This is an area that's good for you to kind of adjust. All right. So for each one of these, you can edit what it says. This says the sum of 2022, meaning that this is all the income values. So you can change that value either by just changing the field up here to say 2022 income, for instance. Or you can click down here, I'll do it for 2023, and click Value Field Settings. That allows you to both change the name, so in this instance 2023 income, but it also allows you to change what's shown. So we have a sum shown here, which is fine. You could show the average if you wanted to see your average sales across all of them. Or you can click your number format here and actually change it to other pieces. So I can change it to say accounting, just like we did, and do 0 decimal places and press OK. Okay, and you can see that it automatically updates this. So keep in mind, I'm showing you this, that shows sales numbers, but this relates to anything I've used. So if I do airflow calculations, I can separate them by the types of spaces I'm providing airflow to. If I'm doing drainage calculations, I can separate them to be certain sizes of pipes, okay, certain flow rates above and below certain flow rates. So as much as I'm showing you this kind of as a financial piece, I also use it just as often in an engineering aspect. So if I do this, continue to do this, our last one, 2024, again, I can change it up here to say 2024 income. You can also do the same thing and click Field Settings here, and that same window comes up as if I did it down in the bottom right corner. I can click Number Format, go to Accounting once again, and 0 decimal places. Okay, so just for consistency, I'll go back to 2022. You can see that the active field changes to be the one I selected. I can click Field Settings, again, number format, and change it to accounting, just to be consistent across all of them. Okay. So just like that, I've created my own separate little table. And what you can do with that is if there's only data you wanted to see, again, when I talked about airflows, if I only wanted to see certain airflows, or drainage, I only wanted to see certain gallons per minute or certain liters per second values. For flow rates, you can do that. And then what you can do is go back to your insert tab here, and you can actually create a pivot chart. Okay, so we're going to create a bar graph. Okay, so we're going to create a pivot chart, and they call it a clustered column here. Okay, they have column and bar graphs, but it's the same thing. Okay, column graph can still be considered a bar graph. Clustered column meaning that you can have multiple clusters. In this case, you're going to see from the preview that we have clusters being 5-day, each of the different meal plan types, separating it by year as to what their income was. So I'm going to press OK. So now that we have it in a pivot table, what's really cool is we can click this and I can change what I want in here. Okay, so I've got each of the different meal plans. I also have the total of all of them. If I don't want the total in there, I can just click down here, unselect the total, press OK, and it will automatically adjust the data here, okay, to show only the information that I want to see. That by the same token, if I don't want to see 2024 income, okay, I can remove that field and it goes away. Okay, I can add it back in or add a different year back in by just clicking, let's say, 2021. I'm going to move it so that it's in order. I can also click there, okay, under our pivot tools and just change it to look the same, 2021 income. Okay, and you can see it automatically updates this table here. What we can also do with these, which you saw in the previous one, was go to design and make it look the same. Okay, that one actually doesn't look quite the same. This one does. Okay, you can make them all look the same, and it's very quick, right? Going to design, clicking change colors, going back to match that same green color scheme. So all this was done in just a couple clicks of the button on Microsoft Excel. So while I show you in the first part of the lesson how to do these by hand, because it is important to understand what you're seeing, I think it's equally, if not more important, for you to understand the basics of how I've done it in here. So again, I went through all of these. I didn't go through them, completely in depth. I tried to show you just the basics. But I do encourage you to follow along using the initial version of the spreadsheet that we had. Remember, all of this looked a lot different when we started. It didn't have the colors, it didn't have the graphs, didn't have all that. But in this short while, you can create something that is a lot more visually appealing and a lot easier to read. Okay, so I hope this helps. If you have specific questions on this, please send me an email or send me a message on Teams. Thanks, everybody.